Welcome to a new episode of the podcast, Vox Agent is made by AI, for business executives that work with AI.
And welcome back. Yeah, today we're diving into some sources you shared, and they're all pointing towards something that's, well, it's become pretty critical lately if you're thinking about AI integration.
We are definitely doing a deep dive today into the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Maybe not the flashiest name, but it looks like it's becoming some really crucial infrastructure for AI agents.
Oh,
right?
that's the idea. So our mission today is basically to unpack it. What is MCP? How does it actually work? And, why this sudden explosion in popularity we've seen.
Right, and then get into the value for businesses, but also, importantly, the challenges, the limitations. Got to look at those and maybe a glimpse of where it's heading.
Okay, so starting with the basics from that summary you sent over. At its core, MCP is an open standard. Think of it like a common language.
Or an interface.
Yeah, an interface designed so AI models, especially the big LLMs, can connect to the data and the tools they need to actually do stuff in your systems.
So it's about giving the AI hands and eyes, in a way, connecting it to the real operational world.
Pretty much. One source called it a universal control plane for these agents. Another one, maybe simpler, called it the USB-C port for AI.
I like that. One standard plug to connect to lots of different things.
Exactly. And it came from Anthropic late last year, 2024. They saw this problem, right? AI models were sort of stuck.
Trapped, yeah. Behind data silos, legacy systems.
Right. And getting them out meant building custom connectors every single time.
Yeah.
Super inefficient, didn't scale at all.
But it didn't exactly take off immediately, did it?
No, it was pretty quiet at first. I think some people just saw it as, oh, another API spec.
Just another standard in a sea of standards.
Yeah. But then early 2025 hit and boom, things just took off.
How so? What happened?
Well, first, massive community pickup. Like suddenly there were over 1,000 community-built connectors. People were just building ways to connect things via MCP.
1,000? Wow, okay.
And then the big industry players started endorsing it. That really cemented things.
Okay, that sudden shift is definitely why we need to understand this now. So let's rewind a bit. Technically speaking, what is MCP and how does this USB-C port actually let the AI connect and, take action?
Okay, let's get into the mechanics. So MCP, fundamentally, it's a communication protocol, defined, open. Its whole point is to let AI models do two key things. One, get the context of the data they need from outside systems.
Like looking up info.
Exactly. And two, importantly, invoke operations, trigger actions in those systems.
So tell the system to do something.
Right. It's the standardized bridge for that interaction.
And when we say AI agent here, what are we talking about?
Good question. Usually it's an AI, often an LLM, that's designed to, perceive its environment, reason about it, and then act to achieve some goal. MCP is the standard toolkit for the act part.
So it's the how, not the what. The agent decides what to do. MCP is how it tells the system.
You got it. It's the toolbox, not the brain.
Yeah.
And it works with a pretty standard client-server setup. You've got the MCP host. That's the app running the AI agent, the thing that wants the data or wants to trigger the action. Could be Claude Desktop, ChatGPT, your custom bot, whatever. It uses an MCP client library to talk the talk.
And the other side.
That's the MCP server, usually called a connector. This is a typically lightweight service that you set up to expose a specific tool or a data source using the MCP protocol.
So like a connector for Salesforce or for our internal database or Slack.
Exactly. And these servers advertise what they can do. I can search users, I can post messages, and yeah, that's where the 1,000+ community ones come in for common stuff.
Okay, so host talks to server. How do they talk? What's the language?
It's message-based, often using something called JSON RPC 2.0, which is just a way to structure commands and responses using JSON, that standard data format machines love.
Right, structured data.
Yeah. And these messages can fly back and forth locally, maybe on the same machine or over the network using regular web stuff like HTTPS. The key is the consistent format.
Okay, walk me through it. Let's say I ask my AI assistant, what's the status of order 123? And it needs to check the database. How does MCP make that happen?
All right, so first, the host application, where your assistant lives, might ask its connected MCP servers, hey, who can look up order statuses? That's tool discovery.
The server for the database would say, I can.
Right. It responds maybe with a description of how to use its lookup order tool. This info goes back to the host.
Then the host tells the AI model.
Yep. The host augments the LLM's prompt. It basically says, okay, user asked about order 123, and by the way, you have this lookup order tool available. It gives the AI the context and the tools.
Got it. So the AI thinks, I need that tool.
Precisely. The LLM then decides, yes, use the tool, and it outputs not just English, but a structured function call, like tool, lookup order, parameters, order it, 123, something structured.
Ah, okay. A clear instruction.
Exactly. The host gets that instruction from the model and sends it as an executing tool request over MCP to the database connector server.
And the server does the actual lookup.
The server does the real work. It connects to the database, runs the query for order 123, gets the status,
And sends it back.
sends the resulting data back to the host application via MCP.
Which then gives it to the AI model.
Right. The result gets fed back into the LLM's context. Now the model sees, okay, the status is shipped, and it can finally formulate the answer for you, the user. Or maybe it needs to use another tool first, continuing the loop.
That makes sense. It's a very mediated, step-by-step process.
It is, and what that gives you is real-time context. It makes sure actions happen through these secure servers, kind of a sandbox. You get that standard JSON format, transport flexibility, and yeah, it really enables those multi-tool workflows, chaining actions across systems.
Okay, so that's the how. It seems pretty solid technically, but you said it had a quiet start. Why the huge surge in early 2025? What flipped the switch?
Yeah, the timing is interesting. Anthropic built it for these agentic AIs, the ones meant to do things, but maybe the market wasn't quite there yet or hadn't fully felt the pain of integration.
They hadn't hit the wall yet.
Exactly. I think early 2025 was when everyone sort of realized almost simultaneously that integration was the big missing piece for actually using these powerful AIs in production. The models were getting amazing, but connecting them safely and reliably, that was the bottleneck.
Ah, so the need caught up with the solution.
Precisely. MCP was sitting there, designed for exactly this problem. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from just, how smart is the AI, to, how do we actually wire this thing into our business safely?
And that's when the community jumped in.
That's when it exploded. Open source helps, right? Developers saw it, saw the need, and just started building connectors like crazy. That network effect was crucial. More connectors made MCP more useful, which pulled in more people.
And you mentioned early adopters showing it worked.
Yeah, companies like Block, Apollo, Replit, Codeum, SourceGraph. They started using it for real things, connecting coding tools to code bases, internal tools to APIs. That proved it wasn't just theoretical.
And then the big one, the industry endorsement.
Right. March 2025. OpenAI announces they're adopting MCP, integrating it into ChatGPT, into their agent's SDK. That was huge.
Instead of building their own competing thing.
Exactly. That was the signal. When two big players like Anthropic and OpenAI both back the same open standard, you know it's probably becoming the way forward. Anthropic even welcomed it, saying MCP was now a thriving open standard.
So it wasn't just hype. It was real need, plus community momentum, plus major validation, making it a kind of de facto standard.
Feels that way. Like HTTP for the web or SQL for databases, becoming a fundamental layer.
Okay, foundational momentum. But let's bring it home. For the executives listening, what's the concrete value? Why should they care about MCP? Why put it on the strategic roadmap?
The value proposition for enterprises is pretty compelling, actually. It's about making AI operational, efficient, and crucially manageable. First off, it's that universal integration standard. Think long-term reduction in development and maintenance. Well, instead of building custom connections for every AI, every system, you build an MCP server for a system once. Then any compliant AI agent you develop or adopt can potentially use it. It's built once, use many, reusable infrastructure.
That definitely sounds more efficient.
Yeah. And tied to that is interoperability and vendor agnosticism. This is big. MCP separates your AI model choice from your back-end integrations. Meaning you can switch LLM providers, go from GPT-4 to Claude 3, or try an open source model without having to rebuild all the connectors to your CRM, your database, whatever.
So you avoid getting locked into one AI vendor just because they built the connection to your critical system.
Exactly. Huge strategic flexibility. Then there's improved model performance. Giving models access to live, relevant external data via MCP just makes them better. More accurate, less guessing.
Like a coding assistant seeing the actual current code.
Right. Or support bot getting the latest customer interaction history. That leads to real productivity gains.
And for more complex tasks that need multiple steps.
MCP makes those multi-step workflows practical. Business processes often touch multiple systems. MCP gives AI agents a standard way to move between tools, query the CRM, then notify on Slack while keeping track of what's going on. It enables that kind of complex automation.
Okay, efficiency, flexibility, better performance. What about risk, governance, security?
This is where MCP really shines for enterprises, I think. It provides a single point for security, governance, and auditability. Because the interactions are funneled through these MCP servers using a standard protocol.
You can watch that single point.
You can watch it, control it, log it. It enables a detailed audit trail. Every single action an AI attempts or takes via MCP and the result can be logged centrally.
That sounds critical for compliance.
Absolutely. Think algorithmic auditors. You can trace exactly why an AI did something by looking at its MCP interactions, essential for explainability, trust, especially in regulated fields.
So compared to just letting an AI call APIs directly everywhere.
It adds that layer of mediation, standardization, and logging that's much harder to enforce consistently with scattered, bespoke API calls. It's more structured, more auditable.
Okay, the benefits sound compelling.
Yeah.
Where are we seeing this used right now? What are some real-world examples?
It's popping up anywhere AI needs to connect to get work done. Intelligent customer support is a big one. You've got AI agents using MCP to fetch customer data from the CRM, search the knowledge base, maybe update the ticket system.
All in one flow.
Yeah, making the human agent faster or handling simple requests fully. And importantly, every data access, every update is logged via MCP. Then there's operations and decision support. Think supply chain AI. Using MCP to connect to inventory levels, shipping updates, ERP data, it can provide insights based on live info or even propose actions like reordering stock.
With a log of why it proposed it.
Exactly. Compliance and reporting too. AI using MCP to check transactions against policies stored somewhere, pull data from financial systems, generate reports. That audit trail is key there.
Makes sense. What about more technical areas?
Oh yeah, software development and DevOps. We mentioned companies like Replit, SourceGraph connecting coding assistants via MCP to the actual code base, docs, issue trackers. That makes the assistants super relevant.
Context-aware coding help.
Right. And iTential's using it for network automation. The AI proposes a fix for a network issue, and then through a governed MCP server, it can actually execute the fix safely.
So the AI isn't just advising, it's potentially doing, but in a controlled way.
That's the key. Controlled. And this leads to broader cross-domain workflow automation. Imagine AI handling employee onboarding. It needs to talk to HR systems, IT provisioning, maybe facilities.
Each through their own MCP connector.
Potentially, yeah. Orchestrating the whole process across departments, it's more flexible than old-school RPA scripts.
It really does sound like it could touch almost any part of a business where systems need to interact.
It's very horizontal. The early adopters like Block, Apollo, iTential are showing the way, but yeah, the potential is anywhere AI needs to connect to systems to deliver value.
Okay, the potential seems vast. But you mentioned it's not perfect yet. Let's talk about the flip side. What are the real challenges, the limitations people need to be super aware of?
Absolutely crucial to be realistic. It's not magic. The biggest one, honestly, is security gaps in the base spec and in many early implementations.
I see.
The core MCP protocol itself doesn't strictly mandate things like authentication or fine-grained access control. It provides the pipe, but you have to build the security gates.
So you have to add your own API keys or auth or whatever.
You absolutely must. And a lot of those handy community connectors, great for experimenting, but many lack robust security out of the box. Deploying one of those against a sensitive system without adding your own security layer is, well, it's asking for trouble.
Okay, so security implementation is job one. What else?
There are operational challenges. While you can log everything, MCP itself doesn't give you fancy built-in dashboards or easy ways to trace a complex AI action across multiple tool calls. You need to build that monitoring capability or use emerging third-party tools.
Managing all these servers could get complex too, right?
For sure. Scalability for the enterprise is a consideration. Some current servers are designed in a stateful way, which can complicate scaling them horizontally in the cloud. And just managing potentially hundreds of these connectors needs dedicated tooling, like registries, which are still evolving. Performance can also be an issue if an AI makes many sequential calls, needs careful design.
And multi-tenancy, if multiple users hit the same connector.
Needs careful thought in the connector design to keep data separate and secure, not automatic.
What about the AI itself? Does MCP fix the fact that LLMs sometimes mess up?
No, and that's a critical point. Model limitations are still very real. MCP gives the AI the ability to use tools, but the AI still has to choose the right tool, use the right parameters, and know when to use a tool.
So you still need good prompts, good tool descriptions for the AI.
And lots of testing and validation. The AI can still hallucinate a tool use or get it wrong, even with MCP.
And the standard itself is still evolving.
Yeah, rapid evolution. It's new, the spec, the SDKs, they're changing. You need to be prepared to keep up if you adopt early. And finally, connector availability. While there are many, there isn't one for every single system yet, especially your custom internal stuff. You might need to build your own.
So powerful potential, but it requires significant work on security, operations, and managing the AI's own limitations.
Exactly. Which brings us to the implications for enterprise leaders. What does this all mean, and what should you actually do?
Well, the big implication seems to be that MCP or something like it is becoming strategic infrastructure. It's the layer that lets you safely integrate AI into actual business operations, not just keep it in a lab.
Right. It enables that shift from AI providing insights to AI taking actions. That unlocks automation, boosts productivity, but importantly, it provides that foundation for security, governance, and compliance, that audit trail, that control point, essential, especially if you're in finance, healthcare, etc.
So how do you tackle those challenges we just talked about?
Needs a plan. For the integration complexity, you don't boil the ocean. Start small. Pick a high-value, lower-risk system. Use existing connectors if they're secure, or build one carefully. Build internal know-how step by step.
And the skills needed.
Address the skill gaps. Train people, maybe hire. Crucially, form cross-functional teams. Get AI folks talking to the system owners, and definitely loop in security and governance right from the start.
So it's definitely not just an IT thing tucked away somewhere.
No way. Change management is huge. You need executive sponsorship. You need to educate stakeholders, business, IT, security, legal on what it is, the benefits and the risks, and how you're managing them. Pilots build trust. Clear policies are key, like all AI access to System X must go via its secured MCP server.
Yeah.
And for the trust and oversight piece, transparency is king. Make sure those logs are accessible. Have human overrides for critical actions. Start with low autonomy and gradually increase it as you build confidence through testing.
Okay, so if someone's listening and thinking, all right, I need to look into this, what are the concrete first steps?
Okay, practical steps. 1, educate and experiment. Get your tech teams learning the basics. Run tiny, safe internal pilots, maybe with a non-critical tool. 2, identify high-value, low-risk use cases. Where could connected AI make a real difference without high stakes if it hiccups?
Find that sweet spot to start.
Exactly. 3, secure buy-in and form that cross-functional pilot team. Get the right people involved early. 4, and this is vital, implement the pilot with governance baked in. Don't bolt on security and logging later. Design it in from the start. Authentication, logging, maybe a simple human approval step.
Don't treat governance as an afterthought.
Hover. 5, test and iterate, hammer it, monitor the logs, see where the AI struggles, refine the prompts, the controls, maybe even get a red team to try and break it.
And assuming the pilot goes well.
6, demonstrate value and document. Show the benefits, but also clearly document how you handled security and governance. 7, scale up cautiously. Expand to more users, maybe connect another system, always applying the lessons learned. 8, formalize governance. Make those pilot policies official. Set up review processes. 9, stay abreast of MCP updates and the tooling ecosystem. And 10, continuously evaluate where else it makes sense to apply this.
It sounds like a very deliberate, phased rollout. Integrating AI carefully into the business fabric.
That's the idea. It's not just deploying tech, it's a strategic change process.
Right.
Enabling AI to be that dependable coworker requires building this controlled interface first.
So looking out further, say 3-5 years, where do you see MCP and this whole agentic AI trend going?
I think MCP will likely be a mature, maybe even formally governed industry standard, just part of the expected AI toolkit like HTTPS is for the web.
Yeah.
We'll probably see feature enhancements baked into the standard itself.
Like what?
Things like robust built-in authentication options, maybe native auth support, standard ways for agents to automatically discover tools available on a network, better handling of streaming data, maybe features for coordinating multiple agents working together. The ecosystem will be huge. Thousands more connectors, definitely. But also, crucially, mature commercial and open source tools, specifically for managing, securing, and monitoring MCP. Think MCP firewalls, agent management platforms, maybe standardized ways to handle human-in-the-loop approvals.
And the impact on AI capabilities.
It'll underpin much more complex AI systems. We'll likely see agent societies, multiple specialized AIs collaborating on tasks, using MCP to interact with the tools and data they need, maybe even extending to the physical world via IoT connectors.
AI interacting with machines, sensors.
Could be. We might also see complementary standards pop up, perhaps protocols focused just on how agents talk talk to each other alongside MCP for how they talk to tools.
It really paints a picture of AI moving from being this sort of isolated brain in a box to being deeply woven into how everything operates.
That's the trajectory, I think. The value increasingly comes from the AI's ability to interact effectively and safely. Protocols like MCP are enabling that. The future seems less about just the smartest model and more about integrated, capable, agentic AI solutions.
Okay, so wrapping this up, MCP feels genuinely pivotal. It's that bridge connecting AI smarts to the real world of data and tools.
Yeah, and its momentum is undeniable now. Strong backing, huge community energy. It looks like it's becoming foundational.
For businesses, the promise is big. Efficiency, smarter operations, but critically, doing it with governability, letting AI actually do things, not just analyze them in a controlled way.
Absolutely. It's ready to be used now, but you've got to go in eyes open. Implement responsibly, build in those security and governance layers from the start, and take that phased approach.
So MCP really is strategic infrastructure. Building this layer carefully seems key to unlocking the next wave of AI value safely and effectively. The real question for everyone listening is, how are you going to start laying that foundation in your own organization? Thank you for joining the podcast, and see you soon.